Bills Mafia. Usually my intro is welcome to Bills Talk Live Wednesday night, but we got a special impromptu session tonight with Chad Michael Murray, my man, massive Bills fan. Most people probably know him more as a very successful actor. Chad, thank you so much for joining us today, man. This is awesome.
Dude, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Bills Mafia. How you doing? Go Bills.
All right, so what are we rocking here now? Are we wearing some Bills gear? Got the Bills hat there? Okay.
Always. I mean, this is like my typical lounge around the house right now. It's the softest one of this current release that I've been rocking out lately. Oversized, nice and baggy. And this is my current favorite hat, plus the other 100 that I have. But my second favorite right now is the, actually my favorite, but I don't want to wear it in, is the Clark Griswold Bills hat.
Very nice. And that one's become very popular on your Instagram account. So for those of you just tuning in, thank you. We're joined, Ryan Talbot, my co-host, Matt Prewin. This is Bills Talk. Our new podcast just launched a couple, what is it now? A couple weeks ago now, a month. We're all losing track of the days here as we go along in this quarantine, the coronavirus pandemic, obviously impacting everybody. But because of that, we've been really going hard into the podcast, trying to bring you guys some entertainment to take your mind off some of this stuff. And tonight we have an awesome guest, Chad Michael Murray, grew up in Buffalo. Ryan and I both grew up in Western New York. Our families are huge Bills fans. So to watch what you've been able to experience, in recent years, pictures with Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith. I mean, these are your childhood icons, heroes. I mean, what's it like every time you walk in a New Era Field these days and some of the opportunities that you've had to interact with some of your heroes?
Oh, man, it's an unbelievable blessing. What can I say? I mean, the Bills organization they've opened their arms to my family, and they've been unbelievably kind. All the players have just been incredibly genuine, just good guys. I think it started probably almost 20 years ago when I first met Jim for his charity golf outing. And, we got to talking. He brought me down to his cabin in Ellicottville, and just created that bond. And through Jim and everybody else, it just kind of, it's family. It's family. And so to grow up and, be rooting on, at 10 years old, Bruce and Thurman and Andre and Jim and, the whole crew, Bennett and Tally, to now being able to walk over and shake hands, and have a relationship. I think it's something that everybody in Buffalo aspires to. Am I wrong?
Not at all.
No, not at all. Now, Chad, you mentioned family, and that's interesting because a few years ago when you and I were talking, you mentioned that when you were growing up, every halftime you'd have a little pickup game outside with your siblings. What do you remember about those days growing up and having those games in the street between halftimes of those Super Bowl teams?
A lot of snow, a lot of mud, wind, rain, doesn't matter. You got to go out there and do it. I mean, that's your childhood. And that's where the addiction, the addiction of the Bills Mafia, I think that's where it breeds and it expands, is the traditions that you create and the lifestyle that you lead when you're pulling for your team. So I mean, I just remember rain, sleet, snow, or beautiful fall. Doesn't matter. We're out there and we're playing, and we're having pickup games on the weekends, and that's the life.
I remember growing up. I mean, obviously there's so many memories of some of those Bills teams in the 90s, but one that always sticks out, I think, I was about 9 years old when Scott Norwood missed that kick. And I can remember every moment of that night with my family huddled around the TV.
You were awake?
I was awake. I was allowed to stay awake. And it was, that was the first real heartbreak of my life. And, I mean, I don't think I was old enough yet to where I really was, interested in girls at that point. So I had an experience.
Dying?
Yeah, no, we didn't. We weren't allowed to have pets. My dad was very strict.
Okay.
But Bills football, that's what it was all about on Sundays. And, that was the era to grow up in it.
Actually, I remember that. We went to a coworker's house of my father's for that first Super Bowl loss. And It was pretty heartbreaking. Like you said, I remember being really young. I was playing Nintendo off in the side room actually during some of that game, and then I came out for that field goal attempt, and just seeing like the look on everyone's faces when he missed that, it was definitely heartbreaking.
And how old were you for it?
Oh, I would have been about 5 or 6 years old.
And you were allowed to. Man,
we were at a friend's house,
yeah.
Guys,
and I was sent to bed. So my legacy is that I listened to it on the radio because I wasn't allowed to watch it live. So I remember going up and I was sitting. My brother and I had bunk beds. We shared a room, and we turned it on the radio, and couldn't believe it because I thought we heard it wrong. So we kept waiting for it to like replay, but you can't get a replay on the radio to see exactly what happened. And so I didn't get to see it live. That's my legacy. What a bummer.
Well, how about this? How about the comeback game? Because that was recently aired on NFL Network this past week. What do you remember about that game? Anything special about that?
Well, it wasn't televised, if you recall. It wasn't a televised game. So I remember we were sitting. I was living in Lancaster at the time, and me and all my brothers were huddled around, listening to it on the radio. And halftime, we were getting blown out, and I just remember the frustration, throwing your hands up in the air. My brothers and I went down into the basement to go play, like, I don't know, NHL or Tecmo Bowl or something on Sega. And so we're down there and we're playing, and my one brother, Brandon, stayed upstairs, and he goes, "Oh, Buffalo touchdown." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, it's 34-10. Okay, great." Buffalo scored again. Now it's like 17. We're like, okay. And then we start coming back upstairs, right? And we're waiting. And then, I just remember running out in the streets and going nuts when they came back and won. And you're just wishing that it was televised and you missed the entire thing.
Well, if you were mad about my dad letting me stay up to watch that game, you're going to be even more mad when I tell you that I was at that game. And I know everybody says they were at that game, but I actually was. Me and my two uncles and my father, we were actually sitting. I mean, you're talking upper deck. We were literally the last roll at the top of the bowl. Oh. And at halftime, dude, I'm telling you, you obviously you're familiar with Walking Dead. It was like a scene out of Walking Dead when the Bills started to score those touchdowns and people started coming back over the fences. It looked like a situation where we were in big trouble. Like people were going to get hurt. People were going to, maybe get killed as they're all trying to, jump back in over the fences. And we're talking hundreds of people mounting a fence at the same exact time. It was wild. So that's
awesome.
That was cool. So what was it like in your house growing up? Like, is this something that, your dad, your mom, this was a family tradition where, listen, this is a Bills house?
No, I don't ever think that there was any like line drawn in the dirt. It was it was my dad. When I was young, it was my father, my mom, and then there was 5 kids. The 4 oldest were boys, so we're all boys. And I just remember we get back from church, and the first thing we do is put the game on. We watch, Bills, Miami, whatever it would be, and then after that, it was just born and bred. Like, it wasn't really a question. Buffalo, when I was young and you guys were young, they were the team to beat. They were the team to watch. And it just so happened that it was in our neck of the woods. So I think it just became, that's our team. That's our squad. You just live by it. There was never a line I remember one of my brothers was a Bengals fan. I don't know. One too many hits in the head or something. I don't know, but even still today, the poor Bengals. But he likes the stripes on the helmet. I remember, like, he was like 7 or something. He liked the stripes on the helmet. But outside of that, like, we're just all born and bred Buffalo Bills, and all my brothers still go to the games. I've had season tickets for 20 years.
That's unbelievable.
I live in LA. I still have my season tickets. I got 4 seats at the 45, man.
And how often do you get back? And do you usually kind of schedule your trips back around the football season if you can?
Yeah, we do.
I figured.
Without a doubt. This year we don't have any real back-to-backs. That's the biggest problem. It's a good schedule because you're home away. But there's some tough ones, man. Like you're going across the country, and then you have a short week to prepare for the Chiefs. If I remember correctly, is that the Thursday night game?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Nashville, and then back home for KC.
Right, on a short week to prepare. So we're not getting a lot of favors in the travel. It is what it is. And so for us, we'll make it back. We'll make it back as many. We try to catch 2 to 3 games a year. Last year we made it to 3. And we had tickets to the Houston game. On the field and didn't go.
Well, now we know who to blame for what happened.
I was so sure we were going to win that I was getting tickets for the following week, and I was like, no, look, let's spend it on the next round. We got this one in the bag. I don't know. I had that gut feeling we were going to pull that one out. And, well, hey, man, such is life any given Sunday.
Go ahead, Brian.
The Bills are on the West Coast, like you mentioned a few times this year. Will you try to catch any road games?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. We'll be at the Bills in Vegas. They play the Chargers, right, out here? Or
Niners.
In LA.
Niners.
It's in Buffalo. Niners we won't catch. Niners we definitely won't catch. I think all the West Coast teams that are here, so Chargers and Rams, are both in Buffalo. So I won't be able to see those. The only game out here I think I can see is potentially Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Arizona.
And Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Raiders.
Obviously, as a guy who travels to cover the team, I'm very excited about this road slate. Hopefully everything looks country-wise, a lot better than it does right now. But, I spent 5 years out in Las Vegas. Getting back there will be absolutely outstanding. But, it's funny. I've been familiar with you for a long time because as Ryan and I were talking about before we started, and I will admit this in front of, in public, I was a big Dawson's Creek fan back in the day. It was just at the right time. I don't know. I really liked the dude from Mighty Ducks, Joshua Jackson.
Yeah, Josh,
so I was like, hey man, I'm going to give this a try. And so when your character appeared on Dawson's Creek and I found out you were from Buffalo, I was like, oh man, very cool. Very cool. I was bummed when you went off the show. So I obviously picked up One Tree Hill. So I've followed your career for years and years and years.
Thanks.
And it's funny. I see a lot of people in the public eye, right? And if they have favorite teams, they rep them to a degree. But man, you rep the Bills like nobody else. And I'm talking about, okay, go check out this guy's Instagram. He is throwing out the first pitch at an LA Dodgers game in an LA Dodgers uniform with a Buffalo Bills hat on. That's impressive stuff, man.
Yep. Don't think I didn't get, shit for it, but it did. And I said, homegrown, man, it ain't coming off. Everywhere I go, my Bills caps never leave me. It is what it is. I never leave home, man. I've got it's Bills Mafia, man. Red, white, and blue. We bleed. We live and die on Sundays. It's a way of life, and everybody who knows me knows how to find my house because they can literally follow the Bills logos through Los Angeles to get to our home. So people will literally show up if it's the first time they come. Like, I knew it was your house because it just followed the logos, and there's your home. So we've we're making our mark. We're spreading the word.
Speaking of, being a hardcore Bills fan, I mean, what was the last 2 decades like? And I think I find this interesting talking to fans and getting their experience on it because, it's so funny. I think I saw an article written by a Patriots writer recently about, season ticket sales are down in New England with the kind of, uncertain future of 2020 and what they're going to be as a team. In Buffalo, and I know there's always been kind of a fear of losing the team if you stop supporting, but this is like a way of life. Like, but how did you stay up with them? Obviously, you're a busy life and you're out in California. How did you stick through those bad times?
You mean the 17-year drought?
Mm-hmm.
So during the Tree Hill days, I went out and bought a satellite dish and put it on my trailer. So we filmed on Sundays.
Oh.
So I have to say, thank God for Sunday Ticket because when Sunday Ticket come out, like I'm grandfathered in. I'm one of the original Sunday Ticket guys, so I still pay $99 a year because I'm grandfathered into the original deal.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm happy about that one, man. Sometimes it pays to buy in early. and so I've had Sunday Ticket since it started because I was in LA or North Carolina or wherever we were filming. I buy Game Pass when we're in London or overseas or wherever we are. So we keep up with it, even if it's on a crazy, like I watched the Baltimore Raven game. We were in the UK and I stayed up till like 4 a.m. to watch the Bills Ravens game. In the middle of, my kids are passed out. I know they're getting up in like 3 hours when the sun rises, and I don't care because I'm not missing that game.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the Houston game, and I want to go back a little bit because that was really, they backed into the playoffs in 2017. Obviously, the Andy Dalton help was well covered.
Greatly appreciated.
I've greatly appreciated. There you go. This was a little bit different last year. The team was kind of stripped down by Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, built back up. The second-year quarterback played really well, I thought, last year in his second year to lead them to the playoffs. And it was just a little bit of different field. And you mentioned, you expected them to win. So what was like that aftermath like when they lost and it was in such devastating fashion? I mean, how tough was it?
I mean, for me, win, lose, doesn't matter. I'm always proud of my boys, right? It's that simple. So I'm not one of those guys who, first and foremost, anyone who boos, unless you're 0-16, don't boo. Don't boo. You're not the Bengals. All right, I have to say that. I got to say that. I think we were at like the Bills-Redskins game or something, which we won, and there was booing at halftime. Okay, just like we don't need to boo. Like we went 17 years with a drought, and now they're winning. We got something going. Let's get our boys pumped up. They know they're not playing well. If there's a bad play, they know they should have caught it. You know what I mean? Anyway, I just had to get that off my chest. And trust me, I've talked to some of the guys about it, and in their head, they're like, "No shit, I know I need to play better." They don't want to. So Houston, I was proud, man. I remember standing up and just applauding in my living room. I was proud of the boys. They laid on the line. They went out there. They played hard, and momentum swung. And it's a young, hungry squad that can get back. It could be the beginning of something really beautiful, and I'm looking forward to the future and having realistic expectations every step of the way. As someone who's watching McDermott and Beane build something that has lasting success, Josh in his second year played outstanding. And he's, the room for growth and the ceiling is so high with him that you can only be excited. So for me to watch everybody really just show up and show out, it's an exciting team. And I think, people are jumping on the Bills bandwagon, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
AFC East champions right now.
Yeah, they're the favorite.
But they got to go get it.
Absolutely. Now, if there was one silver lining of that loss, I think it's that Brendan Beane probably said, we need to go out and get a number one wide receiver for Josh Allen. He still lacks that. And lo and behold, they go and trade for Stephon Diggs. So heading into 2020, what type of potential do you see maybe a Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs chemistry having? Like, what kind of effect do you see that those two having maybe on the success of this team taking that next step in 2020?
I think what you're going to see is a larger impact on John Brown and Beasley than you're going to see with Diggs. I think Diggs is going to be getting man covered by, if there was a Revis Island out there, he's going to be getting their best man, or he's going to be getting doubled, which is going to open up the field for John Brown and, God willing, one of these young kids who's a larger target, right? So when you're getting down towards the 35 and you can just kind of toss it up to Isaiah Hodgkins or whoever the other cat is that we snagged.
Gabe Davis.
Thank you. Gabe. Toss it up to one of those guys when you get down there. If Knox keeps developing and can keep playing and balling out like he does, because I think Knox is a football player. I mean, he's just an athlete and a football player. You can see it in his DNA.
He's 100% my favorite hair on the Bills right now.
does. He's got a good mop going, man. He really does. I love it. So it's a great squad, and I think they did, That's only going to make them hungrier. That loss is, believe it or not, in hindsight, we're all going to appreciate it, I think. It makes you fight. It makes you hungry. If they would have gone to the next round, maybe not as appreciative the following season. Who knows? You don't know. We don't know.
That's a great point. And you mentioned Josh Allen and how much you liked the season last year. And I always like talking about him because he's such a polarizing figure outside of Western New York. But inside the walls, I mean, I can't remember the last time a quarterback or maybe even a player has been as embraced and widely celebrated in a Buffalo Bills uniform as Josh Allen. And so what's your, 2 years here, what's your takeaway so far? What are you expecting in year 3?
I love Josh. I think he's a perfect thing for Buffalo. I genuinely do. I think he's the right man for the job. I think one of the most ironic things about our offense is, for a guy who has accuracy issues, he's got the smallest receiving core in the NFL, which, by the way, is only going to make him better because now he's, aim small, miss small. He's aiming at all these guys who are 6 foot and below. Now he gets a couple big guys, and it's going to be much harder to miss those guys, which, by the way, that's something that I don't know if it's design, but it's interesting just to think about. Josh is a baller, period. The kid shows up. The fire that he has in his gut every Sunday, his genuine sense of leadership, his humble nature, everything about the guy. I'm in. I'm 100% in. So I bought into Josh towards the last 3-4 games of the first season. I said, all right, the kid's he's got some fire and he's got a cannon. I've never seen somebody throw a football. I had a throw off with Josh, by the way. I just wanted to see what it was like. Oh, forget it. Like when I was younger, I could sling it and I could hit 60. I hit 48, 49, 50 last year. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I'm almost 40. So the arms, and I don't throw every day, right? And I go, all right, Josh, now it's time to embarrass myself. Let's do it. It's a throw off. Without trying. I've never seen anything like it. He just, without anything behind it, 65 yards from the 50-yard line, through the goalposts, into the tunnel, and it was effortless. And the ball goes as high as it does long.
And I think that is what's been so difficult for him to really kind of manage the deep ball, because he's obviously got an unbelievable arm talent. But I think it's just something where, somebody mentioned to me on social media, and I can't remember the handle, but in these videos that they've been watching of out in California training with the rookies, he noticed that Allen, it looks like his mechanics have changed a little bit on the longer throws. And, I think it's something that over time is something that's just going to improve naturally. I think it's something like you saw some of the things that happened last year in the intermediate part of the field, where his accuracy in year 1, there were times when you kind of looked at some of these short throws at the 10 to 20 yard range and were like, oh, well, what happened there? You didn't see that last year. The intermediate pass was absolutely sensational. So I think it could be something that in year 3, that's when the deep ball starts to connect, and it helps to throw Stephon Diggs into the mix.
So I don't know if you guys, either one of you guys ever played ball. Did you play ball growing up?
Like JV, nothing crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing.
Okay. When you get on the field, it's a totally different ball game, man. And so to have happy feet and to miss by a mile on your rookie season, yeah, I don't hold anything against you for doing it, man. I really don't hold anything against you. It's a lot of pressure. You're 21 years old, walking in carrying a franchise on your shoulders, right? A $1 billion franchise is just sitting there on your shoulders. Here you go. Go lead them to victory. By the way, 70,000 people are watching, and they're going to boo you if you throw it at their feet. There's a lot of pressure. And, yeah, sure, you're supposed to be able to shrug it off. That's your job. But it takes time to develop that. I remember when I was younger, I wasn't able to throw a touch ball until 25, 26. Mm-hmm. So if someone was 10 yards away, I would be firing it in on a rope the same way I'd throw it if it was 50. and I would try to just fire it in there. And a lot of people used to say to me, just in pickup games and stuff, they'd say, dude, put a little touch on it, man. You don't have to. I'm right here. Right around 25, 26, that idea of just kind of laying it in there for them to go get it, it developed. So I think all this stuff comes with time. But I mean, man, I'm no one to judge. The kid's a baller. What he did in Dallas, what he did, to fight for that extra yard, what he does every Sunday, the way he gets the boys riled up, the arm talent alone, his mental capacity, his humble attitude. He's the perfect thing for our city. He is Buffalo bred.
Who's got you juiced? Big offseason here. Obviously, Stefon Diggs. I mean, that's got to be so exciting to add that kind of playmaker to the offense. But is there any guy that they brought in this offseason that has got you like, man, I think this could be a difference maker?
I mean, look, I know they added in Mario Addison and all these guys, on the D line. I think our D line's, mean. So it'll be fun to see them put some pressure on the quarterback and give Tre'Davious and Poyer and Micah Hyde some serious stats, because I think there's going to be a lot of errant balls. Thank you, Sam Darnold. And I think that we're going to see a lot of turnovers because of that beautiful defense. I'm excited to see what Edmonds does this year, to be honest. He's year 3. He's finally 22? He'll be 22 this season? I mean, my God. So he should be really balling out this year. I want to see the monster that kid's going to become. And I think out of free agents, genuinely, Josh Norman. Random, but I think you're teaming him back up with McDermott, who can take these corners, and look what he does with them. He turns them into machines. He does so well with cornerbacks. And I think you're going to see Josh Norman potentially have a reemergence, man, and potentially dominate. And if not, guess what? Levi Wallace takes the job. So, we're all good. But I think Josh Norman could be the guy to watch. And obviously, I can't wait to see Stefon Diggs. Been a Stefon Diggs fan for years. He's helped me on my fantasy team more than not.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think the Josh Norman thing is interesting. When the Bills first were about to sign him, I wrote that article. You remember it, Ryan? I said, listen, the Bills might have to think twice about going after Josh Norman. But I got to tell you, I've been talking to. We had a chat with Brandon Beane. I got to talk to Dee Marlowe, who played with Josh Norman in Carolina in 2015. And Josh Norman came out and said that he's expecting big things of himself this year. I'm all in on the idea of Josh Norman. I think that you can bring him into this scheme, which he's familiar with. What he was playing in Washington wasn't what he excels in. And I think that you're right. Worst case scenario, he's not what they're hoping, and you still have Levi Wallace. So I think right on the money. I mean, this guy knows his football. I'm right.
Well,
absolutely.
I appreciate you, man. But they brought EJ Gaines back, and Gaines balled out when he was here. So I think there's so much depth. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of depth, right? But with Josh Norman, I think a lot of the times is when he went to Washington, and they just were terrible. And can you imagine the emotional downs if you came from a winning culture and you're going to the Super Bowl and you're in the playoffs every year, and then you go to a team that's just not performing the best? It's not the best Washington Redskins team that we were seeing, right? I mean, 5, 6, 7 games a year. I think that maybe you're not playing your best ball because you just kind of lose interest. I think he's going to come and be reinvigorated, man. He's going to come out here. He's going to see a young team that's hungry, and that's going to juice him up. So 1-2 years of Josh Norman as he's getting a little bit older, I think you're going to get potentially a great player and have 2 lockdown corners to really solidify that defense. A top 5, no matter what. That's all. Top 5. I would like top 2, but top 5 guaranteed.
And there's something to be said about the talent around him too, because in Washington he didn't have a safety duo like Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde that he have, or like you said, White on the other side, even Taron Johnson in the inside of the nickel. So the talent around you can elevate your play as well. So yeah, I agree. I think there's some big things possibly in store for Norman.
Yeah.
So this Tom Brady fella, not in the AFC East. What are your thoughts?
Could not be happier. I mean, look, I had a great Brady story, so I don't I don't have a problem with Tom Brady. I think a lot of people are the same way. They're going to be rooting for Brady in Tampa. I believe it. I don't think it was Tom Brady that people were mad at. I think it was the Patriots they were mad at, to be honest with you. Tom Brady did a great thing. So I don't know if you guys remember that game got blown out. It was a Sunday nighter or something. It was Bills-Patriots, and they won like 49-7. Randy Moss, Tom Brady, bombing it. Okay, so I was at that game. And after the game, the players are coming out of the tunnel, and everybody's got their earphones on, head down, just ignoring their fans walking by. And there's a mix of Bills and some Patriots fans, but the Patriots fans are applauding their team as they come out, as they should. And out comes Brady. And, people are calling his name. He does the wink and the smile. He goes to get on his bus. There's a little kid standing right next to me. And he goes, Mr. Brady, I'm from Michigan, Mr. Brady. And his head drops as Brady gets on the bus. And he turns around, and Tom heard him. And Tom turns around and goes, hey, kid, from Michigan. And I'm like, kid, he's calling you. Go on, man. And Tom, we pull up like the little caution tape. He goes running in, and Tom picks him up, takes him on the bus. The bus door closes. All the guys on the team, they're like doing a little thing on the bus. He's introducing everybody. He signs his little Michigan helmet. And then, 5 minutes later, the kid comes off the bus. And that one moment, I went, you know what? It's a good dude. It's a good dude, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. It's that impact he had on that boy, and all the people who saw it will last a lifetime, man. So it was a cool moment to see.
Were you surprised that he left New England?
No, not at all. I can't imagine. It just feels like there's a lot of pressure. I understand the respect aspect of it. Look, they've been the best team in the NFL for almost 20 years. All right, they've been dominant. But I think Brady has to prove something, that he can do it with someone else. That it's not just Bill. That it's not, that there's not a little asterisk next to his name that says he's the GOAT. But Bill Belichick made him that, because he did it with Matt Castle, and he did it with Jacoby Brissett, and he did it with Garoppolo. He won. He just won with those guys. I mean, even Brian Hoyer last year was 16-17 in the preseason, for gosh sakes. So when you look at that, I think you have to separate the two and let Brady go and do his thing in Tampa. And if he can take that team to the playoffs, even just to the NFC Championship, he doesn't have to get to a Super Bowl. He can mark that off the list of things like, all right, get that monkey off my back. It wasn't just Bill. I'm a player. And I think you got to prove that to yourself. It was like Joe Montana. What makes Joe Montana great, potentially the best, is because he did it in two places. He also went to Kansas City. Now, Buffalo knocked him out in the AFC Championship. But
set that up nicely.
But Joe, he did it in two places. He won, right? He won in different environments. It wasn't just Bill Walsh, right? So you look at that, and I think that that's something for Brady that would keep you motivated to win. For me, it would.
One of the big things when this actually happened, because I was, I was doubting that he was going to leave New England, just because, you saw what happened with Michael Jordan going to Washington. And I know that, Tom Brady always, I think holds himself in that regard in trying to chase that greatness and being the best of all time. And I also thought of it from a Bills fan's perspective, him being in Tampa Bay and out of the division. It's happening at a time where the Bills, the pendulum is shifting. The Bills, I thought, were the better team last year in both of those games. I think it was a young team that was kind of learning itself. But I thought for maybe 6 of the 8 quarters, the Bills were the better team on the field. And so I think with Tom Brady, and Josh Norman actually said it this week better than I could have, with Brady, with or without Brady, we still feel like we were going to be a problem this year. And I agree. I would have picked the Bills to win the AFC East, even if Brady
without a doubt. By the way, with Brady, I think Brady makes them a great football team. But if they bring in if Andy Dalton would have went there, I actually would have had a little bit of like I don't know. Because Brady's arm wasn't where it needed to be last year. Now, that could also be because his receiving core was a subpar, right? He had Edelman and nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a bunch of guys who couldn't get separation, and so he had to throw the ball in the dirt over and over and over and over and over and over again. So, look, whether Brady was there or not, I think Buffalo would have been the better team, but there's still that monkey to get off your back. Every time you walk in a Gillette with Tom Brady, Big Bad Bill Belichick there, it puts more angst on you, more pressure on you to make the play, and you might not play as loose, right? That's just in life. That's natural for anybody when you're up in a pressure situation. So that one play that the big bad Patriots are going to make you make, the mistake you're going to make because you're a little tighter than you would be, that's how they get that advantage on you. And now that's gone. And I think that Buffalo can walk in there and, just play their game of football. I don't think they go in there cocky, like we're going to just knock them out. I think you go in there and you play your brand of football and you play to win.
If I was writing the movie script for Bills fans in the Tom Brady saga, I think the perfect ending would be Buffalo versus Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl in 2021, February, if everything goes according to plan. And the Bills knock off Tom Brady and his new team. Because let's be honest, this Tampa Bay offense looks like it's going to be scary.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of not fair. They don't have a running back yet. They do not have a tailback. He does need some type of dump-off guy right there. But, yes, their receiving core is disgusting. I mean, my goodness.
All right, so let me transition here real quick before I let you go. Thank you so much, Chad, for your time tonight, man. This has been a fun time, great conversation. The fans are really enjoying it. And I want to ask you a couple of questions, rapid fire style,
right.
and you can hit us with this. Favorite acting role of your career?
Oh, that's not fair. A TV series called Sun Records that you probably didn't see.
Wow. Okay. Favorite show you've been on? TV show.
Well, that's it.
Okay. So both work. Does the One Tree Hill fanfare ever get old?
No.
Because it is, even still all these years later. I mean, you do a lot of stuff with a lot of the fans. It seems like, from the outside looking in, I'll be like, man, I might get tired of talking about my character from that one show I was on. It's
the most bizarre thing. It's actually, the fandom is growing. Because of streaming services. So, I mean, I meet 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, kids who weren't alive when we started filming the show. They weren't born, and they are now watching it. I would just say the show just resonates with people in such a way that it's standing the test of time. So it's always an honor to be a part of something, man. I came out to Hollywood to make people happy, and that's what the show does. So I'm grateful.
There's a question in the chat. What was it like to work with Michael B. Jordan on Fruitvale Station?
Yeah, I love Michael. Great. Michael B. He's just as solid as they get. He's not, there's nothing pretentious or Hollywood about the guy. He's just so down to earth. He's a great artist and just a good guy.
Favorite Bills memory? That's tough. That's tougher than the show question.
Yeah, come on, man. I don't have a favorite Bills memory. My favorite Bills memory is to come. It's to come. It's the future memory that I'm going to have with my family, my son, my wife, and my daughter, when I'm bawling my eyes out because we just won a championship.
So what's that situation like? Is your wife a big football fan? Because I know my cousin who lives out in San Diego, they're a San Diego Chargers family, but he's obviously a Bills fan. And I saw his son in a Chargers jersey, and I gave him a little jab for it. What's it like? Are you able to raise the kids Bills fans here?
So my wife she's from Coronado, so she was a San Diego fan.
Okay.
And I've always been a Phillip Rivers fan, man. I love Phillip Rivers. I just love the way he gets fired up. So they were always one of my backup teams that I root for, because everyone has a backup team that you like to pull for. But they once they moved, I mean, it broke everyone's heart in San Diego. So she didn't find it fun to root for San Diego because they always found a way to blow it at the last minute. Like they're dominating, and then somehow they lose after they were up by 30, and so that drove her nuts. So at the end of the day, she found way more fun. She's just gotten hard. I mean, she felt it when we lost to Houston. Like, she was emotional about it. So she's bought in. She's 100% into Buffalo. The Pagulas have been so kind and wonderful to my family. Her relationship with Kim and some of the people in the city, just everybody's been wonderful. She's 100% into Buffalo. So yeah, we got no problem there. It's not divided here.
Favorite chicken wings in Buffalo? Well, I would hope it'll be in Buffalo.
Well, of course he's in Buffalo. Yeah, it's so tough, dude. They used to have these great wings, but they don't have them anymore. It was a secret little place. You know the Golden Bear Dome on Worley in like Clarence, Williamsville area?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know the place. They used to make the greatest wings, but they changed ownership on the restaurant, I think.
Is that on the other side of Transit in the Clarence?
Yeah.
So yeah, got you.
I would say Duff's. I say Duff's. You know, Anchor Bar, I had a bad experience once downtown, so it didn't go well. And I haven't had Barbell.
I'm right there with you. So when I moved back 2 years ago, Duff's was my indisputable champ. All right. And I came back here and I saw all of this hype around Bar Bill, and I said, okay, I'm going to go check it out. Man, I probably had Bar Bill 5 times to my one time having Duff's now. And we have one in the North Towns. I live in Amherst, and there's one out in Clarence now. So we go there all the time.
Beautiful, beautiful. So when I'm home, my dad lives in Clarence. Going.
Boom.
Perfect.
All right.
Boom. Get my Bar Bill.
More heartbreaking exit with 2 seasons to go. Lucas Scott in One Tree Hill or Michael Scott in The Office?
I never saw The Office. I've never seen one episode of The Office, to be completely honest with you. So I'm just going to assume that The Office had to be incredibly dramatic.
What was it like watching those 2 seasons after you left?
I mean, I didn't. I don't watch a lot of television.
Mm-hmm.
I watch sports, and then I spend my time working on things. Obviously, now I've got kids, but I'm either writing scripts or training or just traveling, camping, doing all sorts of different things. So I've never been a huge absorber of series. It's hard for me to binge. Like, I've never been a binger. I can't do it. And my guilty pleasures are typically like doc shows, like The Curse of Oak Island or Ancient Aliens. Like, I love watching that stuff just because it's like mindless and I fall asleep.
There you go. Best tailgating spot outside of New Era Field?
I don't know. You tell me.
All of them, he says. All of them.
Yeah, all of them, right? I'm not gonna. That's a losing question. Period. Anywhere in Buffalo that you can party with a Buffalo Bills fan is the best place to party.
Did you enjoy the Pinto tailgate? Was that your first time this past season?
It was the first time I've ever done it. We did it twice this year. And we shot a little show that we're shopping around right now about the Bills Mafia, and we're gonna do a tailgating show. It's gonna be a riot, man.
That's awesome.
That is
You have to give us that. You have to give us a screener of that when it comes out. I'll look forward to watching that.
Yeah, man, you got it. We just we're working on some different things. Obviously, coronavirus has changed the environment. We don't know if there will be any fans or it'll be limited fans, like the 60,000 to 15,000 capacity. Right? They'll do like winners of sections that you can come this week and you get 2 games. I don't know what the scenario is going to be, so it'll be hard to shoot, but we'll figure it out. I'll let you know.
That's awesome. And did you what did the guys, because I know the guys that run the tailgate at Pinto, did they give you high marks for your ketchup and mustard spewing during the ceremony?
I'm an old pro, bro. Old pro. It was easy. They're like, damn, dude, you've been here before. And took the bowling ball shot like a champ, landed it, hole up, golden.
All right, before I let you get out of here, prediction. Ryan and I actually put our game-by-game prediction out at the site this week. Ryan had him going 12-4. I went 11-5. Some people think they could go 10-6, even with the better roster because of the tough schedule. Where do you got him finishing this year?
Due to schedule, due to travel, 10-6 wins the division. I think 10-6 wins the division. I think you're looking at one team will be probably like 4-12. Another team will be like, 6-10, and then the other team will be like 8-8, 9-7, somewhere in there. Buffalo win at 10-6. I think the last game of the season is probably not even going to matter. Bills Dolphins. What is it, the 29th or something? I think that's going to be a no-brainer. So we might have 5 losses at the time or 10 wins at the time, but it'll be just like last year, and we'll just have our backups play. Maybe not. So I think 10-6. It's a tough one, man. It's a really tough haul. Just because of the travel, the time differences, the short weeks. I love the schedule because it's going to have them battle tested, ready to go for the playoffs. Like, there's no teams that they won't really have played. Like, they'll have tough matchups, right? It's not like they're going to have a cake season and then walk in and have to play real teams in the playoffs. They're going to be playing real teams all year. It's going to make them ready.
So can you see, if I put this picture in here, can you see it? You able to see the picture I just put in there? Oh, we lost them. Oh, you know why we're losing them? Because I had that picture in here. That's why we keep losing them, I think. I had like I had like a little picture that I wanted to show him at the end. He was wearing a mask, and it was months ago. It was before the coronavirus even started. And if that's the reason, if I am the reason that we've had this annoying continual problem, and now it doesn't even look like he's getting back in okay, I'm going to be very upset with myself. So we did put out our game by game previews this week. 12-4. You're very bullish, dude. It's hard to go 12-4. Everybody that's talking about this season for the Bills, even the guys nationally that are the most hyped on it, seem to be still kind of fearful about jumping over that 11-win threshold. But you jumped on it pretty willingly. So 12-4, hit them. What do you think?
I think a lot of it has to do with the division. I still think the Dolphins are a year away. There's a lot of unknown with the Patriots, and I'm just not buying the Jets. I think actually the Bills benefit from playing the Jets when they do this season. Week 1, that offensive line won't gel. That second matchup is right after the Thursday night game, so the Bills will be having extra rest. I really think that they can go 5-1, 6-0 in the division, and there's almost half the battle right there of getting to 12 wins. So you scatter in some other games along the way there. And Chad was right. There's some really tough games on the horizon. There's the Chiefs, there's the 49ers, the Seahawks. And maybe they can steal one of those games, but I like them against the Cardinals. I'm not sold on the Rams, so I think that's a winnable game. Raiders, I think they can win that one. So, you go down and it's a week-to-week league. Injuries happen, things happen, teams get hot. But, my way too early prediction of 12 wins, I can just see it happening in an ideal situation.
Man, I don't know if we're going to get him back here. What a bummer. But I think because I got rid of that picture, well, this is a good learning experience. Don't put pictures in the little bottom thing anymore to try to get cute with the live broadcast. I try to get a little cute with it. But no, Chad's been great, man. This was a great conversation. Getting a chance to learn a little bit more about his fandom. I mean, I've always just been impressed from afar watching, we see so many Bills fans. I mean, this is, what really, I think, resonates with me getting a chance to talk to Chad this week is Thursday was the 1-year anniversary of Pancho Villa's passing. And I think when I came back to the beat, like a lot of Bills fans, one of the first things that I noticed with Pancho Villa when I came back to the beat was Pancho. And I wasn't very familiar with Pancho before the draft. And so, and Chad's back with us now, thankfully.
Dude, my phone died.
Oh, nice. Okay. So it wasn't me. All right.
No, it wasn't you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Do your thing. What was it about your picture? What were you going to ask me?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, no, you had that picture of him, you said, with the mask on. It was yours, Matt.
Oh,
can you hear me?
I don't know. Yeah, I lost it. I lost what I was going to ask. But what we were talking about was, I think it's what's so cool about having you on today. Chad Michael Murray, actor, all that's great. But like, you're this super fan, and there's all of these super fans of the Bills. And when I came back, one of the first things that people I met was Pancho Villa, Ezra Castro. And Thursday was the 1-year anniversary of his passing. And this is such a fan base that embraces the people that celebrate this team nationally. I mean, this is a guy, Ezra Castro, that wasn't from Buffalo, didn't live in Buffalo. He just became a fan and then embraced the community. And I think that one of the coolest things about Bills Mafia, outside of the tables and a lot of the fun videos on social media, is the community that's been created. And this goes back to the 90s and 80s. I tell people all the time, this has always been the case within this fan base.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Born and raised. You're born into it. I mean, I don't know how many babies I've seen crash through tables in the last year in videos. You're born into it.
For sure. Dude, this was an absolutely awesome time. You can find all of Chad's work, like he mentioned, on all these streaming services. I think I just saw that Riverdale season 4 is on Netflix, so you can catch up on that. What else you got going on? Because we lost them. Okay, so I feel better. It's not me.
You've been sitting here thinking it was you now.
It wasn't me. It wasn't whatever I was doing with the little picture.
That one wasn't you. No, it just keeps kicking me out, guys. By the way, I apologize to everybody for the inconvenience.
No, it's not you.
None at all.
It's not you. But now I know the picture, though. The picture was of you months ago, I believe, working on your house. It really was a nice predictor of what was to come.
By the way, I just had recently seen that photo. It's funny that you brought it up, and I was like, I was pre-planning for coronavirus.
There it is.
Crazy. I would say what's coming up? May 22nd, I have a movie coming out that'll be on VOD because movie theaters are closed.
Right.
Called Survive the Night with Bruce Willis.
Awesome.
So that'll be out May 22nd everywhere that you can download movies. And then I had another one that was supposed to come out April 8th, but we've pushed now, so I don't know when that'll be out. But it's called Max Winslow. That'll be out later this year. And then just running and gunning, man. Running and gunning. We'll see what the best is yet to come.
It's so funny you mentioned Bruce Willis, because I was just talking to my wife today about the quarantine and about the national crisis, the global crisis, and it got me thinking about Armageddon, one of my favorite movies. I gotta say, it's a guilty pleasure. I know a lot of people give me grief about it, but hey, could you imagine if we had a Harry Stamper right now to come in here and take care of this quarantine?
It's one of those things. When in crisis, call Bruce Willis.
There it is, man.
What the heck? Always. That's what I told him. He told us great stories, man. By the way, William Fichtner was in that. Buffalonian.
Wow. Yeah. Great plug. All right, so now Buffalo Bills fans, you have 2 reasons to see the new movie. William Fichtner, man, what a classic.
No, William Fichtner was in Armageddon.
Oh, see, you gave us a little bit of a teaser. I thought he was the new one. All right. That's a great point. He was the pilot. In Armageddon.
He was
a very vital, important role in that film.
He said, "Get off the nuclear warhead." That was good old Bill Fichtner, man. Crushing it like he always does. So underrated. Dude, so good.
All right, so here's the deal. When you get back to Buffalo, hopefully social distancing is a thing of the past. We'll go hit some bar, Bill. We'll do a little catch up. This was an awesome time, my man. Thank you so much, really, for joining us on a Saturday night in quarantine. This is a great time.
Easy peasy, man. Thank you both for having me, genuinely. God bless you guys. Go Bills. I love all your family pictures behind you, by the way. Congrats.
Thanks, brother.
Guys, take care of yourselves. Bills Mafia. I'll see you guys soon.
All right, guys. Bills Talk with Matt Parrino, Ryan Talbot. Another episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.